All right, welcome everyone for today, November 9th, 2024, Asian philosophies. And today we are going to continue on the book from Feng Youlan, A Short History of Chinese Philosophy. Today we are on chapter 15. Okay, so let me show my screen. So that's today's subject, Confucianist metaphysics. We are going through with the book. I'm going to quickly go through, okay, in case if somebody don't know this book. This book is written by Feng Youlan, 1947. He wrote this one as when he taught in University of Pennsylvania. So I think this one is a great book to study, and then brief background about Feng Youlan. He lived to 95 years old, and you see the time, and then he has been through the revolution against feudalist China, Sino-Japan War, World War II, Civil War, the communist and the nationalist civil war in China, and survived from Cultural Revolution. So it's through a very difficult life. And then I'd specifically like to talk about like today. Okay, today's subject is Confucianist metaphysics. And I believe metaphysics is a very Western concept. Okay, so last Feng Youlan's writing, he said, I discovered that what is considered to be the philosophy of the East has existed in philosophy of the West as well, and vice versa. I discovered that mankind has the same essential nature and the same problem of life. That's Feng Youlan's writing. And I think it's especially important for today because metaphysics is very Western concept, and then but it's also a necessity for all philosophy. So how does Chinese philosophy or Confucius philosophy, metaphysics, okay? So you will find out, at least I feel this way, they are talking about the same thing, but it's different in a different way. So I hope you have this kind of feeling, but at least that's what I read and like to share what I think about it. So go over about this 28 chapter, and today we are on chapter 15. Chapter 15 can be a milestone for this book. From the beginning we go through all different kinds of philosophies, and then all this philosophy was happened during the time before China as one nation. Because during that time, either in the spring or autumn, which China has over 200 states, or during the warring state, which has 7 states during the war. So it's conceptually, it's not one state. And then after chapter 15, okay, next time when we talk about world politics and world philosophy, chapter 16, basics is dealing with one state. Okay, so that's the Qin dynasty conquered all other states, and China become one nation. So that's chapter 16 for next time. And today, chapter 15 serve as the last part of the warring state. And during this time, Confucianism, okay, is talking about Confucianism, metaphysics, okay, because we have to go through all the major school, all the major philosophers, and the one thing left is Confucianist as a philosophical school, and the metaphysics part of this school. So that's today's subject agenda. We are going through Okay, so I would divide this one, as I mentioned at the beginning with Madeline. I find out it's quite difficult to organize today's reading, and then I decide to organize in this way. So basically, I put in the 4 part. First part, I'm going to talk about the book, because the entire writing, chapter 15, is based on 2 books. Yijing, the book of change, I introduced last week. It's only, actually, be honest, it's only part of Yijing, only so-called appendix of Yijing. And another part is the book called Doctrine of the Mean. So that's 2 books. So I'm going to introduce this book, these 2 books on the first part. Second part, I'm going to talk about what is metaphysics. Okay, so this one is a big subject, but I think that's important to understand why we need to talk about metaphysics for today's section. And the third part, that's the main part for today. Basics, we are going to talk about Confucianist metaphysics. It includes so-called Dao, Yi, which means change, transformation, simplicity, and constance. The mean, harmony, the common and the ordinary, enlightenment and the perfection, and sometimes we translate as sincerity. So that's today's subject. And then before I start, if anyone have a question or anyone have a specific subject you are interested, please raise your hand. Okay, so Madeline, please.
Yes, I'm just a bit curious about the Yi in Yijing.
Yeah.
So what I'd heard, possibly from Amon, was that the character can mean sun and cloud together, and so that there's never nothing, but it's always a shifting state, but it's the shifting states of the same things.
So are you asking the question or are you make a comment?
I think I'm asking a question.
Okay,
Maybe I'm making a comment.
First, I have nothing disagree on that, but I think this word that's original from this, and then that means change, but it also has different meaning, which means simple, okay, and also means invariance, okay. That's why this book called Yijing, okay. That's what I introduced last week. Talk about this book as a book, okay. Today I'm going to talk about the concept of Yi, which has been brought up in the appendix of Yijing. So which serves the metaphysic part of Confucianism. I remember last week somebody asked the question, and which I think that's a very good question, because in general we can see Confucianism is hierarchical. Okay, Confucianism try to preserve the hierarchy of the society, but with the concept Yi, which means transformation, that means this hierarchy, the structure is unchanged, but the element, okay, is movable. So if you are on the bottom, you have opportunity to move it up. Okay, it's a meritocracy system. So in a way, the structure is unchanged, but the element in this structure is changing. So I think that's an important concept. So in a way, we might see Confucianism is ultra-conservative, backward moving. But in another way, it's also progressive because inside this unchanged structure, the element is moving. So if we have no other comment or question, I will move on for our first part. okay, talking about two books, okay, Yijing and the Doctrine of the Mean. So again, we go to the sixth school, right? And we spend almost the entire 2024 to talk about the sixth school, Confucianism, sometimes we call Ru school. Legalism, okay, we talk about Han Fei, I think it's a few months ago. Taoism, which we talk about Lao Tzu, we talk about Zhuangzi, and I even spent 2023 entire year to introduce the 7 inner chapter of the writing of Zhuangzi. Moism, we read Mozi, right? Moism, we have original Moism and the later Moism, which serve as logician. And we have the school of names, Hui Si and Gongsun Long, okay. And then we talk about Yin Yang school, which include 5 elements and the book of change, Yijing. So today, we are going to combine Confucius teaching, okay, and part of Yijing, okay, to serve as Confucianist metaphysics. So that this part is a little bit difficult to understand, but bear with me. I think I try to explain clearly for today. So traditionally, in Confucianism, there's a book, 4 books and 5 classics. Sometimes people call 6 classics because book of music has been lost. That's why we call it classic. So on the left-hand side, the 6 classics, all 6 or 5 books is the book exists before Confucius. When I say exists before Confucius, that means Confucius also read this book, but Confucius and his disciple also make the comment on this book. So you may find out a lot of things have the Confucius said during this book. Okay, and on this side, on the right-hand side, that's so-called 4 books, which is compiled after Confucius. So these 4 books are Confucius Analects, Book of Mencius, The Great Learning, The Doctrine of the Mean. So today we are going to focus on 2 books, The Doctrine of the Mean, so in Chinese word called Zhongyong, okay, and then the Book of Change, Yijing. And Book of Change we introduced last week, okay, as the entire book, which is a definition. The book serves for definition, but it also contained philosophical part, which in his appendix, so-called 10 Winds. So we are not going to read the definition part of Yijing today, but we are going to read the appendix, which serves as philosophical essay. Okay. So that's today's thing. And then I just want to give a brief introduction of the Book of Change, so-called Yijing. Okay, so remember this I pronounced as Yi, not I Ching, it's Yijing. So I think the way to look at this book, I'm talking about the entire book. You can look at this book in 3 layers. First layer, you can look at as a graphic, which included the 8 trigram and the 64 hexagram. It was created by mystical figure Fu Xi, okay, which is, we'll say 3000 BCE, okay. And the second part, on each hexagram, they have the line statement, comment, okay. So we call the statement part, okay. That's the second layer. The third layer is so-called 10 Winds. This part are the philosophical part, and then it is written by Confucius and his disciples. Okay, so that's the 3 layers of reading. And today we will focus on the third part, which is 10 Winds. I just want to quick show the what the 3 layers reading. Okay, so first part, when you open the book of change, you will see a lot of symbol, right? I hope you can see clearly here. They have the 6 line, and some are broken line, some are solid line. That represent yin and the yang with different combination. So the 2 power of 6 is 64. So they have a different 64 different kind of symbol, different kind of hexagram, and each one has a name. So this one is served as divination. Okay, so fortune telling. Okay, you help you to make decision. We are not going to deal with this part today. Second part, second layer, we call the line statement. That means if you go to each of these 64 hexagrams, you will find out the text which is describe what you should do, okay, what's the right thing to do, or what's the lesson you learned from this, okay. So this one also serves as a definition, a historical account, or message part, okay. So that's the part we also not going to deal for today. Third part is so-called the 10 win, and that's what we are going to read today. So these 10 wins, basics, the first 2 wins is judgment, okay, and image, and then the great treatise, A, B, they have the 2 parts. So this part, the so-called Xi Ci, okay, the great treatise, A and B, total have 24 chapters. This is super important for metaphysics. And the Confucianist metaphysics is going to base on these 2 chapters or 2 appendix, okay, 10 wins, so-called the Great Treatise, and sometimes called Appendix AB or Appendix 1, 2. Okay, that's the metaphysical part. Another book, we are going to deal with the Doctrine of the Mean. Okay. If you go to Confucius Analects, book 6, chapter 29, the master said, the doctrine of the mean is always the highest virtue. Over a long period of time, people hardly practice it. Okay. That's the only thing Confucius mentioned about the doctrine of the mean. For the entire Analect, there's nothing about doctrine of the mean. That's the only thing Confucius meant. And he has no further explanation about what does he mean, doctrine of the mean. Okay. But later on, Confucius' grandson, okay, Zhi, okay, he wrote a book, a chapter, we should say, we can say a book, okay. They included 31, depending on how you organize. Some people will say 31 chapter, some people will say 33 chapter. Okay, so total is not long, okay, only 3,545 words. Okay, so this one so-called the doctrine of the mean. Usually, I prefer the translation doctrine of the mean. And in phone, sometimes they write as Zhongyong, okay, sometimes write Zhongyong, okay, depending on how you spell it. But I believe doctrine of the mean is the best, or the way I prefer. Okay, and it was originally as part of classic of right, which is one of the 5 or 6 classics in Confucius teaching. So that's for the part about the 2 books we are going to talk about. One is the Doctrine of the Mean. One is Yijing, but we are not going to deal with entire book. We only deal with appendix, so-called 10 wins. The Great Treatise 1 and 2. So that's the foundation for that. So before I move on, and then if you have a question or comment. No comment? Okay, Fei Wu, please.
Just by the doctrine of the mean.
Yeah.
Just by the simple wording without knowing anything about the book, I already believe it's correct. Because, for example, the political left hates their strengths, and the political right hates their weakness, and they're both wrong, because we are both strong and weak.
Um,
So the doctrine of the mean is the correct position. So we take care of the weak and also foster environments to allow the strong to thrive and inspire the weak. That's how I understand the doctrine of the mean, taking into account the current political atmosphere.
Okay, thank you, Fei Wu. Okay, so that's a way to understand. Okay, but I will argue. Okay, and I hope you stay and you will agree with me later. The doctrine of mean is more than this, and the more important is doctrine of the mean serve the metaphysical part of Confucius' teaching. Okay, so that's I'm going to argue for today. Okay, so any other comment, question?
I have a
So
question.
next few slides, I'm going to just talk about what is metaphysics. I think that's important, okay, because I think metaphysics is a very Western concept, but it also exists in ancient Chinese. Okay, but I don't. So first, today we talk about metaphysics. I believe the words from Aristotle, okay, and which is the appendix or attached or above or beyond the book he wrote, physics. So we call it the metaphysics. And if you open the book of metaphysics from Aristotle, there's 14 books, and you look at the title. I just summarized the title. Talking about being, talk about principle of science, talk about nature of principle, talk about what exists, and causation, substance, potentiality, and actuality, first principle, first cause, okay, nature of God, unmoved mover. Okay, so that's the thing Aristotle is talking about. And that's how we talk about metaphysics, okay, from Aristotle's book. But if you go through the Western philosophy, you might find out it's very different meaning of metaphysics for different philosophers. For example, when Kant talk about metaphysics, I believe he always mentioned about the immortality of soul, the existence of God, the free will. And in his preface of his critique of pure reason, he talked about metaphysics was called the queen of all science. That's how Kant understand metaphysics. And if you go to Hegel, when Hegel talking about in his phenomenology of spirit, he talk about phenomenology as the science of appearance and the metaphysics as science of being. Okay, and the Bergson, Henry Bergson, was defined on his book Introduction to Metaphysics. He make a very clear definition: metaphysics as the science of intuition. So to the later part for the 20th century, the positivism, right? AJL, you talk about metaphysics is impossible, okay? And because the metaphysical statement is impossible. So basically to them, there's no metaphysics. And for Bertrand Russell, he talk about metaphysics as a study of the ultimate nature of constituent of reality. But actually, he want to talk about, Bertrand Russell want to talk about is mathematical logic. So here, this one is not try to define, okay, what is metaphysics, but I just want to give everyone a flavor, okay. All philosophers talk about metaphysics, but they all in a different way but they all kind of seemingly in the same flavor. Okay, I'm not sure what would be the better way to describe what is metaphysics, but that's how Western philosophy, they are very different when they talk about metaphysics. So right now we are going to shift to the other side, the ancient Chinese. Let's see how we see, and they use, okay, or in the Chinese philosophy, especially in Confucianism, how does the meaning of a metaphysic survive in the or serve as a foundation for the Confucianism? So we find out in Yijing appendix, okay, A, and they have the clear definition. And that's the words we use in Chinese word. If you go to in China and Japan, in China, when you speak Chinese or Japanese, right, the metaphysics, the words 形而上, okay, that means this word has been defined, that which is beyond, or you want to call it the antecedent to the material form, is called Dao. So the word beyond the material form has been used as metaphysics today. And continue, okay, if it is a beyond, they have under the material form is called device, Qi. So you can match this one as beyond the material form as metaphysics, which also called Dao. And then under the material form, we can call physics, which is material thing, material world. Then they have a further definition. Transformation and the shaping is called change. That could be the Western concept of becoming. And when they talk about carrying this out and opening with this, it is called, it's called generalization. I believe another way to look at it is universal. Taking the result and setting its force for all people is called activity. Okay, and that would be equivalent to we call event. So the reason I show this one is in the Appendix A, Chapter 12, the Book of Change already gives some clear definition, okay, about a few concepts, the Western concept here, okay, and then we use the beyond the material form as the equivalent to Western concept of metaphysics. So that's the thing. And then next, I'm going to go to the Taoism philosophy, and which based on the book Dao De Jing. In Dao De Jing already have something about metaphysics, because in Dao De Jing, in the few chapters, they talk about the Dao, talk about being, talk about non-being. Okay, Chinese call Dao or You or Wu. Okay, being, non-being, and talk about nature law. I believe this one can be categorized as metaphysics. And of course, Dao De Jing talk about more about moral law. Okay, know when to stop, simplicity, non-interfering. This one belongs to the moral law or political theory, 无为, non-action. But Dao De Jing has a strong part of metaphysics. But when we look at Confucius Analect, we introduced long time ago. Okay, if you read through the Analect, you will find out they probably have no metaphysics here. Confucius talk about political philosophy, rectification of names, okay, which is about politics. And the majority of Confucius analysts talk about the moral theory, talk about the Yi, the oughtness, the righteousness, talk about Ren, benevolence, talking about the devotion, talk about reciprocity, talk about ritual, talk about filial piety. That's all our daily life, our moral self, right? One thing Confucius may touch is talking about knowing the mundane of heaven. But he's talking about we need to know the mandate of heaven, but he never mentioned what is the mandate of heaven and what is heaven. Okay, nobody mentioned on this. So in this case, we can say Confucius or Confucianism lack of metaphysics part. So right now we are going to base on the two books, Yijing, okay, the appendix part of Yijing and the doctrine of the mean to give metaphysics to Confucianism. So that's this I base on Feng Youlan's writing, and I think that his writing on this part is pretty good. I never see people talk about Confucian metaphysics in this way. I think they talk about Dao Yi, okay, the Dao and the Yi, and the mean, which is Zhong in the middle or center, harmony, and common and ordinary, enlightenment and perfection. Okay, 6 part. So I'm going to spend more time to introduce this 6 part as the Confucian metaphysics. Fei Wu, please.
So Confucius, it was Confucius, right, who said it's important to know the mandate of heaven?
Yes, because he said
He didn't detail what was the mandate of heaven.
He didn't say anything about this.
It resonates with Lao Tzu, Dao De Jing. So like what can be named or something like that. I forgot.
Okay, I will mention about the Dao.
Yeah, I think only those who have the mandate of heaven know the mandate of heaven. It's beyond the description. It's
okay, that's the Taoism. Yeah, what you are talking about is Taoism, which is different than Confucianism, because Confucianism doesn't say this, right? In the
Confucianism said in your last slide, I didn't read the brief, but yeah.
Okay,
knowing the mandate of heaven.
Yeah.
So he also understands the concept.
Okay, I got your.
Just both Confucius and Lao Tzu didn't detail what exactly is, because this was written for those who have the mandate of heaven, not just everybody.
Okay, let's put it this way. Okay, Confucius know, okay, but he didn't tell us what is, right? Okay, so what he learned on the end, then we kind of know Confucius probably talking about, at least that's my understanding. In Christian word, we will say God's will, or we say the will of the heaven. Okay, so we will talk about this one, and then we can compare how Confucianism concept of mandate of heaven, and then let's put it this way. Okay, in Taoism, there's no mandate of heaven. There's a heaven. The heaven has no mandate. Okay, the heaven has no will. Okay, but in Confucius' world, the heaven has its mandate. Okay, it has its will, and we need to follow. Okay, so that's the difference. So their understanding of heaven is in different way. We have AK.
Yeah, I had a question on the next slide, where it basically talks about harmony and the middle. To me, I think both should be the same thing, if I'm not mistaken, because harmony would be almost like balance or like flat line or baseline, which should be in the middle of, let's say, a waveform, for example, crest and peak, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Okay, thank you for bringing up this one. And I please stay until we talk about this part, and then I hope.
Okay, sure, I'll bring it back. Thanks.
Okay, I answer your question. Yes, because when you look at the middle center, if you put your imagination as a scale in the center, that's harmony, right? That's in the middle, and they are the same thing. So yeah, I think you are right on this way, but I'm not sure. At least we will go through this one and see how do you feel after that. Fei Wu, please.
Okay, sorry. The saying in Tao Te Ching was, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The
Yeah.
name that can be named is not the eternal name. And the mandate of heaven that can be explained in details is not the mandate of heaven. And in the Bible, there is similar saying about the chosen ones, but they didn't say, oh, exactly who were the chosen ones. Only those who are chosen, who know the mandate of heaven, know that.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got your point. Okay. So only the person who knows, right? Okay, so let's move on. Let's go to the first concept, Dao. Okay, and then a lot of time we translate the way, the principle. So here, Feng writing is going to probably it gradually will answer fails your question, right? So basics, Feng is talking about, and which I totally agree. And I think the people ask me a few times about the Dao, because in Confucius analects, Confucius also talking about Dao all the time. And same as Dao De Jing. Okay. So some people will say the Dao is a heaven and the Dao is a principle, Dao is the way. Okay. So it's many way to explain and they're very difficult to talk about. So that's I copy from Feng Youlan's writing. He said, we may distinguish between two concepts by referring to Tao of Taoism as the Tao, okay, which I will put as a capital, and to that the Tao of the Appendix 1, Appendix of Yijing, which is Great Treaty, and which is going to serve of the metaphysics of Confucius as Tao. I put in the lower case. Okay. The difference is the Tao of Taoism, which is based on Tao Te Ching, is the unitary that from which springs the production and the change of all things in the universe. So basically, in Tao Te Ching's Tao is the Tao, which is the highest principle. Some people want to explain as the one, okay, and some people even translate as God or heaven, okay. So there's only one Tao, capital T. The Tao of Appendix of Yijing, which means the Confucianism Tao, okay. On the contraries, are multiple and are the principle which govern each separate category of thing in the universe. In a way, Confucius Tao is lowercase, and in Taoism's Tao, there's only one Tao, but in Confucianism, the Tao has many Taos. And another way to read it is, I would say Taoism, the Tao of Taoism serves as the end, and the Confucianism's Tao serves as the means, which if we translate the Tao as the way, it makes sense for Confucius, but it may not make sense for Taoism, because in Confucius, okay, they have the Tao of Juns, they have the Tao of heaven and the earth, they have the Tao of a husband and the wife, they have the many different Tao, which serve as the natural law or yeah, I think you can say the principle for everything. But for Taoism, the Tao is the highest principle, which is heaven or nature. So I think that's the concept different. And the next thing we are going to talk about is the name. For Confucius, each Tao has its name, but for Taoism, the Tao has no name. That's why, the first chapter of Tao Te Ching, talking about the Tao can be spoken, is not a usual Tao. The Tao can be named, is not the usual or eternal Tao, eternal name. So the Tao in Taoism is nameless, but in Confucius has its name, and the name is very important. Before I talk about this, let's read the Confucius Analects, okay, chapter 12, right? The Duke Jing of Qi is Confucius about governance, how to govern the work. Confucius reply, let ruler be a ruler, minister, minister, father's father, son's son. Okay, so this word sounds very strange, but what Confucius is talking about is the ruler have to follow the Tao of ruler. The minister has to follow the Tao of minister. Fathers has to follow the Tao of father. And the son has to follow the Tao of sons. That's Confucius' idea. So-called the rectification of name. The Tao is for the relationship, okay? So that's why Feng Youlan writes in this way. He said, there are many such Tao of Confucianism, such as the Tao of sovereignship, which is the ruler, or the Tao of ministership, or the father or son, fatherhood or sonhood. They are what a sovereign, a minister, a father, and a son ought to be. So in the Tao, which is natural law, also a moral law, that's the Tao you need to follow. Each of them is represented by a name. Okay, so in Confucius, the name of Tao is very important. That's why eventually he want to develop his rectification of name. That's why the theory of rectification of name in Confucius. In Confucius, in him, however, this was only an ethical theory, whereas in appendix, which is in Yijing, it becomes metaphysical as well. So if you only read Confucius Analects, you read father, father, son, son, okay, minister, minister, you read as a ethical teaching. Okay, that's in Analects. But in appendix, it will explain in a metaphysical way. Okay, that's what we are going to study today. So we can take a quick look on how Tao of Taoism, okay, deal with that. It's a little bit different. I already explained the Tao of Taoism. Basically, is unnameable. So the opening chapter in Tao Te Ching, okay, it reads as follows. The Tao can be speaking of is not a usual, or you want to call the eternal Tao, right? And the name can be named is not a usual or eternal name. I think Fei Wu just quoted before. Basically here, it's just opposite to Confucius. Okay, the Tao in Taoism has no name. If you have name, that's not the permanent Tao. So right now we take a look on the Tao in the Book of Change. When I talk about Book of Change, we are talking about the appendix. Okay. So here we can see, okay, as object belonging to a certain class and satisfying certain conditions can fit into a certain formula with a certain variable. This is, it can fit into the comment made on certain hexagram or a certain line within a hexagram. This hexagram or line being taken as symbol. So you can look at the Book of Change. Take the Tao as a mathematical equation formula. Okay, so this formula represents the Tao, which the object of this class ought to obey. From the point of view of definition, if they obey, they will enjoy good luck. But if not, they will suffer bad fortune. From the point of view of moral teaching, if they obey it, they are right. But if not, they are wrong. Okay, so here in the Book of Change, in the Yijing, they connect the good fortune with a moral deed. Avoid bad fortune as avoid evil. In another way, they put the divine rule, nature rule, and the moral rule in the same way. So in this way, they connect the general principle, okay, so-called metaphysics for the heaven and the earth, nature world, and the human world. Okay, so that's why a lot of time people say the Chinese philosophy or Chinese universe is more organic, because from human, nature, heaven, and earth are all follow the same rule. And that's the Book of Change provide. So in a way, we can say, in Book of Change, we know they have the 64 different hexagrams. We can say they have the 64 different Dao, okay, for each hexagram, and you can follow. And here, formula just give the example for heaven and the earth, right? So the first of the 64 hexagram, Qian, okay, which means heaven, okay, is supposed to be the symbol of virility, while the second hexagram, Kun, okay, which means earth, is that of docility, okay, docile. Everything that satisfies the condition of being virile can fit into a formula in which the symbol of Qian occurred. Everything that satisfies the condition of being docile can fit into one in which the symbol of Kun occurred. Okay. So hence the comments on the hexagram Qian and its individual lines are supposed to represent the Tao for all things in the universe that are virile. Those on the hexagram Kun and its individual lines represent the Tao for the things that are docile. So if you are on the docile part, you should follow the rule in here. We call Kun on this side, called Kun, okay, the earth. If you are on the dominant side, okay, on the virility, okay, you should follow the rule on the Qian, which is heaven. So you can go to the here is a copy from the so-called the appendix talking about Qian, okay, heaven and earth. So at beginning, this one is talking about Kun, which is earth. The hexagram Kun said, if it takes initiative, it will become confused and lose the way. If it follows, it will docilely gain the regular Dao or regular way. Okay. Although the yin has its beauty, it keeps them under restraint in its service of the king, and one does not dare to claim success for itself. This is the Tao of earth, of wife, of a subject. The Tao of earth is not to claim the merit of achievement, but on another's behalf to bring things to their proper use. So here, the Tao of the earth is also provide the guideline for the wife, for the subject, okay, to follow. Okay, I'm not saying I agree with that, but that's the text talking about. Quite opposite, we talk about Qian, which is heaven, right? The symbol of heaven, of husband, of sovereign. The judgment made on this hexagram and its individual line represent the Tao of heaven, of husband, of a sovereign. Okay, so here the Qian statement provide the guideline for husband, for heaven, okay, for sovereign. Okay, so if one wants to know how to be a ruler or a husband, one should look up what is said in Yi in the Book of Change under the hexagram Qian. But one want to know how to be a subject or a wife, one should look up under the hexagram of Kun. Okay. So this one, the successfully, okay, when I say successfully, it means logically, they make the definition book connect with the moral law, because That's the Tao of heaven, and that's the Tao a husband, a ruler has to follow, okay, or a boss, a manager has to follow. And then the Tao of earth, okay, which is the wife, okay, subject, okay, employee, okay, need to follow. That's the book, try to connect them together. So here, I stop here for about the Tao of the Confucius teaching. Okay. So again, I just talk about what book said, and then don't challenge me as like, do you believe that or not? Okay. So that's another different story. So that's what the book said. Barbara, please.
So I guess the question I have is that are these multiple Tao's that Confucius is envisioning, are they social roles or places in the hierarchy that
Yes.
prompt certain or are they a priori things that exist before the hierarchy was constructed?
Okay, that's a very good question. And then we should wait for another 1,000 years to answer your question. Okay, so because during this time, okay, I think it's a posteriori. Okay, so but 1,000 years, 1,500 years later, on the 13th century, the Neo-Confucius movement, okay, they put this one as a priori. That means this kind of Tao pre-exist human world. Okay. In other words, before they have the human in this world, they have a husband and a wife. The Tao of a husband and wife already exists. I can take another extreme, like before human exists, before people use the number, the multiple table, okay, already pre-exist in the heaven. Okay, that's the Neo-Confucius argument. But here, I don't think during this time they have a clear idea of a priori or posteriori. And based on my understanding of the Chinese philosophy, they probably everything is empirical. Okay, that's what I believe. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question or comment? Fei Wu, please.
Yes, I used the Yijing to do a divination to ask a yes or no question. And I
Okay.
got 49 radical change, and then 63 already across. How would you interpret it?
I don't know how to interpret this one, but because I don't know the definition part.
Definition part? What do you mean?
Well,
Do you
you
think
say,
this is a yes or no answer?
so what's your question about the Yijing?
Yeah, I asked the Yijing
Uh-huh.
yes or no question.
Because if you ask, okay, so here's this one. Okay, if you ask Yijing about yes/no question, that means you treat Yijing as definition book, right? Because
Yes.
you are not sure. Okay, you have two job offer. You don't know which one you to take. Okay, so you ask Yijing, try to study and see. You take this one as a definition. Okay, another way to look at it is in my situation. Okay, I take this one as a philosophical book. Okay, I'm being as, let's say, I've been as a father. Okay, I want to know what's the good way to be a father, and I study this one. Okay, and we take this one as a philosophical book, or take it as a moral teacher. That's the how different way you read the book of change. And if
That
you take
depends on what your worldview is. Are you spiritual?
you ask me,
Yeah.
no.
So you're agnostic.
You can say this way.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Then yeah, we treat it differently because I'm
yeah,
spiritual.
you can say it differently.
Yeah.
But I think they coexist, right? Sometimes you want to know what's going on in the future, and sometimes you want to know what I need to do morally, right? So that's a different way to look at it. Right? So we can move on for the next important part, and then so-called Yi. I think a lot of people talking about Dao and heard about Dao all the time, which is no stranger for most of the people. And Yi is a thing different. And Madeline just mentioned about Among talking about this construction of this Yi means like a sun and the cloud. Okay, yeah, I think that's the word coming from. But if the human start to use this word, we develop a new meaning. And then this word, if you ask people in today, the people who speak Chinese, Yi will means simple, simplicity. Okay. But it also means transformation, change. All right. And in another way, in the book of change is invariance, or sometimes we call it constants. So a few things, I think I showed this one about yin and the yang, and then I think most people probably knows, right? So when it's on the earth, we call yin, and the heaven is yang, moon is yin, sun is yang, and dark is yin, sun is, the light is yang, black is yin, white is yang, poor is yin, and rich is yang, and when people dead, okay, in the underworld, it's yin, and who's still alive, that's yang. Okay, that's the general concept, but we are not going to detail on that. That's just a brief concept. And then what I like to talk about is in the book of change appendix, okay, it talked about a few interesting statements. Okay, one is one yang and one yin. This is called Dao. Okay, so here it defines Dao as yin and yang. So again, you can see the change part. That which ensure from this is goodness. Okay, they define what is good, right? That means you follow this Dao means good, and that which complete the nature. Okay, if you complete this one called nature, that means nature doesn't mean nature world, the nature of man and the things. Okay, so everything can, in one sense, be yang, and in another sense, in according to the relation with other things. For instance, a man is yang in relation to his wife, but he's yin in relation to his father, but he's yang again to relation to his son. Same as female, okay, a woman can be yin related to her husband, is yang related to her son or her daughter. Okay, so I think that's it's a relation, it's a relative. And the concept Yi here is talking about first easiness and simpleness. Okay. Second, talk about transformation and change and invariability. So that's the three meaning in Yi, and that's why the book called Yijing, okay, the book of change. I think book of change may not catch the entire meaning because Yi doesn't mean change, doesn't only means change. It has another two meanings, including easiness and invariability. Okay, so here is important. Transformation and the changes refer to the individual things of the universe. Simpleness, invariability refer to the Tao of underlying principle. Things ever change, but Tao are invariable. Things are complex, but Tao are easy and simple. So I think this one is important to understand what's the meaning of Yi. First, it's changing, but the change means the individual things. Okay, so like at the beginning, I talked about Confucius, a political word. It's rigid hierarchy. Okay, this social structure is not changeable. It's invariable. It does. Confucius doesn't want the structural change, but the individual, okay, he expects you move up. Okay, it's changeable. So you can see the change part and unchanged part. The structure, the universe is unchanged, but the individual is changing. The things ever change, but the Tao never change. The principle never change. Just like a mathematical equation, right? You put a different variable, you get a different result, but the equation is the formula never change. Things are complex, but the Tao itself is simple. So I think that's the book of change, try to catch up. So this one is a copy from the appendix. Okay, you can see that's a lot of writing, okay, metaphysical writing on that. The supreme virtue of heaven is to produce. Following the existence of heaven and earth, there is the existence of all things. Following the existence of all things, there is existence of male and female. Following the distinction, there is the distinction between husband and the wife. Following this distinction, there is the distinction between father and the son. Following this distinction, there is distinction between sovereign and the subject. Following this distinction, there is distinction between superiority and the inferiority. Following this distinction, there are ritual and the duty within the society. So you can see here, these texts try to define from the virtue, okay, of heaven, okay, all the way to all things, okay, and right now define the social role, male, female, husband, wife, father, son, sovereign, subject, superiority, inferiority, that the reason of rituals and the duty, which is being taught many, many times by Confucius, okay, is defined here. So that's how this book, this appendix try to do. They try to connect Confucius' teaching with the heaven, okay, and the natural world. Okay. So E, right, is to produce and to reproduce is the function of E. Talk about the reproduce and reproduce is function of E. And the E, okay, there is a supreme ultimate. Okay, the Chinese word is Tai Chi. Okay, I think people practice Tai Chi, that's the same word, but it's different meaning. Because Tai Chi, when we practice Tai Chi as you practice in the park, that's more associated with Taoism. Okay, that's a different thing, which produce two forms. And the two forms produce 4 elements, and the 4 elements produce 8 trigrams. Okay, so here, okay, E not only dominate or demand the social structure, it also create the 64 hexagram. So it's from 2 forms, yin and yang, 4 emblem, and to 8 trigram, and to 64 hexagram. So 1,500 years later, okay, the Neo-Confucius movement, and they start to draw this picture, okay, for the Tai Chi, and create the 2 form and the 4 image to 8 trigram, and then next level would be 64 hexagram. So that's the concept of E, right? So let me stop here and take some question or comment. AK, please.
Yeah, it's interesting that structure and breakdown of the E. It's almost like the Kabbalah,
Okay.
and it's with the sephiros, which break down the tree of life, for example, as they
Okay.
show it. So, yeah, fascinating. Thanks.
All right, thank you for your comment. And any other question? Any comment, question? And then next, I'm going to move to the, so right now we already done the Book of Change, the appendix of Book of Change. And then The rest of today, we are going to deal with the doctrine of the mean. And I think it's AK, or you ask about the middle and the harmony. Okay, that's the part that we are going to explain. Fei Wu, please.
The 64 hexagrams was produced by Fuxi, and in your previous slide, the words were added by new Confucianists, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to deal with a few concepts. Okay, so I need to have some explanation here about why we talk about this. Confucius in Analects or Mencius in his book of Mencius didn't talk about this word. They talk about this word, but they talk about this in a moral sense. But here, in the doctrine of the mean, they talk about this word in the way serve as metaphysics. Okay, whatever metaphysics you want to understand. So you can look at on this way. The Tao and the Yi, which has been explained in the appendix of Yijing, basics is talking about the society, the social, the political world, or the society. In the book of, in the doctrine of the mean, basics is talking about individual. So here is talking about you as a person, what you need to do, okay, metaphysically. Okay. If we want to take the sense, it's just like Kant talking about the groundwork of metaphysics of morals. If you read the, talk about Kant's groundwork of metaphysics of world, you may feel like Kant didn't tell you anything, right? He talked about categorical imperative, talk about three formulation, but he never tell you about thou shalt not kill, okay, respect your parents, okay, loyal to your country. He never talk about anything about this, right? Same as this. Here, they want to tell you is the foundation, okay, the metaphysical of morals. In other way, Confucius is talking about the morality part, the moral behavior. And the book of the Doctrine of the Mean is talking about the metaphysical of moral, or you want to say it's the foundation of the moral behavior. So first thing I'd like to explain is the mean, okay? It's a simple in Chinese word called 中. Okay, so this word has many ways to translate. Some people want to translate as central. Some people want to translate as middle. Some people want to translate the mean. So it takes a few minutes on that. First, you can take it as in the Confucius way, according to the doctrine of the mean, it means just right, okay, which is similar to Aristotle talking about golden mean, right? In Aristotle's ethic, he talking about, for example, talking about bravery, okay? Bravery is find the golden mean between cowardice and the rashness, right? You don't want to rush, okay? You don't want to be coward, but find the right point, okay? That's the golden mean. Same situation in doctrine of the mean. The mean means the middle, but the middle is golden mean, which is just right. Okay, so that's read on the doctrine of the mean on the chapter 1. Okay, it talk about to have no emotion of pleasure, of anger, sorrow, or joy wearing up. This is to be described as state of the mean, right? There's no emotion. Okay, it's called the. I think it's have no emotion of 喜怒哀乐, the pleasure, anger, sorrow, and the joy. So here he's talking about when your emotion heaven well up. Okay, have no well, but they call the mean. Okay, to have this emotion welling up, but in due proportion, this is to be described as the state of harmony. Okay, so here the difference of that, right? The mean is your emotion still within control. That calls the mean. But in Confucius teaching, the emotion, you are not like no emotion at all. If somebody insults you, you're supposed to be angry. Okay. When you are happy, you're supposed to be you're supposed to laugh. Okay. When you are sad, you're supposed to cry. Okay. If you put this one in control, in the just right situation, okay, that means the mean, okay, in the right position, okay. But if you have this emotion coming out, but in the proper way, for example, somebody insulted you, you angry, you fight back. If somebody die, your friend die, you cry, or in the proper way, okay. In this way, it's called harmony. The mean is the chief foundation of the world. Harmony is the great Tao of the world. Once the mean and harmony are established, heaven and earth maintain their position, and all creatures are nourished. So here in the opening chapter, the doctrine of the mean start to talking about the two important concepts, the mean and harmony. And AK just mentioned they are the same. And here I'm going to talk about the subtle difference between the mean and the harmony. Right? Harmony is the reconciling of differences into harmonious unity. Okay. So in another way, you can call this one justice. If you go to Plato's Republic, right? In the Republic, talking about I think it's in book 3, talking about the three classes of people. The highest, the ruler, guardian, and the producer, right? And they all practice different virtue, right? For the ruler, need the wisdom. To the guardian, need the bravery. To the producer, need the temperance. So if all these three classes of people practice their own virtue, the whole society will achieve justice. Okay. So in this way, it's very similar to Plato in Republic, talking about justice, which is harmony. So a lot of time people ask me about in ancient Chinese, what's the word for justice? Do they talk about justice? I think the proper word equivalent to Greek justice, okay, is harmony. Okay, because in this sense, that means harmony. So in the doctrine of mean, okay, chapter 31, all things are nurtured together without injuring each other. All causes are pursued without collision. This is what makes heaven and earth great. So here is the definition of harmony in according to the doctrine of the mean. So here's the two important concepts: the mean and harmony. So before I move on to the next one, is any question or comment about these two concepts? So another thing we can talk about is the common and the ordinary. Okay, so that's why Zhongyong, okay, the second word, the first word is Zhong, which is associated with He, harmony. Second word is Yong, okay. Usually we translate as common or ordinary. So here, that's still in the opening chapter, on the chapter 1. What heaven confers is called nature. So here, so okay, 天命 之谓性. Okay, this nature doesn't mean the nature, it means the human nature. The following of this nature is called 谓, the Tao. Okay, so the Tao is follow the 天命, the heavens, the nature heaven give you. Okay, the cultivation of this way or this Tao is called education. I think Feng Youlan translates as spiritual culture, but Jiao, I would prefer use the word education. So to cultivate, okay, this Tao, okay, you call education. Right? The Tao is which no man for a moment can do without. What a man can do without is not the Tao. In this way, Tao is happened all the way, common and ordinary. So you have to practice, use it all the time, because without Tao, you even don't know what to do. Okay, so in a way, you can say the Tao is the moral law. In this sense, every behavior you follow the Tao. So among men, there are none who do not eat or drink, but there are few who really appreciate the taste. Okay, I think this one is a good example, talking about eat and drink, because we all eat, we all drink. But how many of us really appreciate the taste? So the example here is talking about the Tao is not something very high, it's very common. Okay? So everybody practice Tao, but do you really know the essence of Tao? I think that's the question. Okay, this document, this text is asking. Okay, just like you eat and drink every day, or at least many times a day, and do you really appreciate the taste? That's the concept they try to put it. So this one is another example about the Tao of Junzi. Okay, again, we explain the meaning of Junzi. That's in Confucius' word is the moral agent. Let's say a good man, a gentleman. Okay. So the Tao of Junzi reaches wide and far, and yet it's a secret. Common man and woman, however ignorant, may intermeddle with the knowledge of it, okay, with the Tao of Junzi. Yet in its utmost reaches, there is what which even the sage does not know. Okay, so here is talking about the Tao of Junzi. Sounds like it's a high level to understand, but the text tell you no. Okay, the common man and the woman, okay, even they are ignorant, okay, they may have some knowledge of that, but the highest meaning of this Tao of Junzi, even the sage may not know. Okay, so I'm going to skip the middle part. Okay, the middle part just give you different example. So the final we talk about the Tao of Junzi may be found in its simple element, in the relationship of common man and woman, but in its utmost, it shines brightly through heaven and earth. So here, the Tao of Junzi, it can be practiced in the common man and the woman. Okay, so here man and the woman talking about the social relationship. Okay, so and then, but the highest level is between heaven and earth. So here, the text put the relationship, okay, between man and woman. You can practice as regular, illiterate, common man and woman, or you can grow all the way up to the heaven and earth. So that's the text try to explain here. So that's the talking about the how ordinary of this concept. So finally, we're going to talk about another very special thing about the enlightenment and perfection. Okay, so here we will, okay, here's a translation. I like Feng Youlan's translation as perfection, but the Chinese word 诚, okay, actually means sincerity. Okay, so most of English translation translates sincerity, and which I don't think is proper put in the context. So I personally like Feng Youlan's translation, translated the word 诚 as perfection, but I think you can contemplate this concept, right? That's the word has both meaning of sincerity and perfection. That means you sincerely work hard you work very hard, do your best to reach the perfection. Okay, I think that's what it means. Okay. AK, you have a question? Comment?
Yeah, I have a comment. To me, I think if I was to translate perfection and sincerity, I would probably say humbleness or meekness.
Humbleness.
Humbleness. Because I think perfection is a very strong word because like say we take 5 for example, right, or the golden ratio or pi, it theoretically goes on to infinity, right? It will never reach an asymptote, for example. So that's the reason behind it. That's my observation. Thanks.
Okay, I will say then I'm sorry. I think I probably not explain well. Okay, let's put it this way. Okay, so let me explain one more time. Okay, it's not humbleness. It means you need to, for example, you use your example of pi. You should try to exhaust what you can do to reach the perfection, even you know the perfection is not there. Do you agree? Do you see that's a humble or not?
Yeah, I mean, if I was converting the word sincerity, I couldn't put sincerity and perfection together. That's the reason why I came up with that example.
Okay, I think it's very difficult because the words on the surface means sincerity, but I think Feng Youlan's translation as a perfection is right. Okay, but I still try to see how to see the connection between these two meanings. Okay, let's read the text. I hope we will get clear. Okay, so first, Mark, please.
Yeah. Does the previous speaker speak Chinese?
Excuse me, what's your?
The previous speaker who made the point about pi, I don't know, was that AK? Do they speak Chinese?
No, I don't speak Chinese.
Okay. So I just wanted to make a point about.
Okay, I'd like to hear from you, Mark. Since you know Chinese.
Well, I don't know much Chinese, but I've studied a lot of different languages, and I'm studying Chinese right now. And when you study any language, there's concepts that don't quite map from one language to another that are hard to translate with one word or succinctly. But that difference is, in my experience, is much bigger between Chinese and English than like between English and German or English and Spanish or something like that. And it's a completely different language group, but even deeper than the language, than that difference, because there are other language groups. There's, in my opinion, there's really profound philosophical differences between Chinese thought and what's become dominant in European thought, and they're permeate kind of, and this is a really good example of it in my opinion. The things that get associated with each other in Chinese can be pretty different than the things that get associated with each other in English. So kind of understanding this association between perfection and sincerity, I think, is a good way to getting into how this philosophy is different than the way that you're used to thinking about it. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Mark. Okay, so let's read a few texts and then we hope will make it clear. Okay, I just have to say the text is difficult. Okay, at least for me. Progress from perfection to enlightenment. Okay, means enlightenment in general. We translate as enlightenment, or you want to read as sincerity. Okay, progress from perfection to enlightenment is called the nature. Okay, the nature means 性, means the human nature. Okay, so, but from enlightenment to perfection is called education or spiritual culture. Okay, so the text try to connect enlightenment with perfection. Okay, and then when there is perfection, there is enlightenment. When there's enlightenment, there is perfection. So just like Mark mentioned, okay, how does the word associate with another word? It associates with another word called enlightenment. So enlightenment to perfection, perfection to enlightenment. Or you want to read as enlightenment to sincerity and the sincerity to enlightenment. So anyway, if you Chinese only have 2 words, 名成, but in English you can contemplate these 3 words: enlightenment, perfection, and sincerity. Okay. So on chapter 26, okay, we talk about the quality of perfection. The quality of perfection does not simply consist in perfecting oneself. It is whereby one perfects all other things. The perfection of the self lies in the quality of 人, okay, humanity or human-heartedness. Okay, that's the Confucius virtue. The perfection of other things lies in wisdom. In this is the virtue of the nature. This is the Tao, through which comes the union between inner and outer. Okay, so here the text try to develop, right? The sincerity, or you want to the perfection. I think if we translate perfection, we partially translate perfecting, okay, as a verb, okay, probably would be better way. That means you have intention to make yourself perfect. Okay, so I think that's great. I realize why AK talking about humble. Okay, because I think probably the better way to translate is perfecting, perfecting as a verb. Okay, because it means you have to put your effort to perfecting oneself, and it's therefore so after you perfected yourself, you can try to perfect all other things, and then with 人 and then perfect all other things. Perfect the self. Okay, it's rely on the quality of 人, and the perfecting other things rely on wisdom. Okay, so and this virtue, okay, is the way, okay, the Tao, which come the union between inner and outer. Okay, so in Confucius, or not in this teaching, actually is Confucius' grandson, is talking about you perfecting yourself with 人, and then you also perfecting others with wisdom, 智. Okay, I think that's he tried to talk about. And finally, okay, look like we were going to finish early. So finally, okay, here it's very important is the heaven, earth, and the man. Okay, I think that's a famous so-called Chinese Trinity. Okay, so here it is only he who has the most perfection who can develop his nature to the utmost. Able to do this, he is able to do the same thing to the nature of other men. able to do this, he's able to do the same to the nature of things. Able to do this, he can assist the transformation and the nourishing operation of heaven and the earth. Being able to do this, he can form a trinity with heaven and the earth. So this one become important teaching in the next chapter when we talk about the word philosophy. Okay, it's a step by step, right? So you perfect yourself, okay, and with perfecting, okay, and then you can perfect your nature. And the next step, you can perfect others. Then you can perfect the things. So you have your family member, lift up your family member, and then lift up or improve all things. And then you can nourish and transforming, okay, the operation of heaven and the earth. Okay. After you do this, right, you can form a trinity with heaven and earth. In the Chinese word called 可以与天地参. That means you can together with heaven and earth become three. Okay, so that means unify with heaven and the earth. That's this text try to do. You can say it's metaphysic or mystical, okay, whatever you want to call, but that's the text. So finally, I'm bringing to the end. Okay, so look like we're going to finish early, and then we have a few minutes more time to discuss if you want. So I'm going to read the final conclusion, and I think the conclusion from Feng Youlan writing. Is anything extraordinary needed in order to achieve this trinity? Okay, the previous slide we talked about trinity. No, nothing more is needed than to do the common and the ordinary thing, and to do them just right. Okay, common and ordinary, that's the Yong and the Chang. Okay, common, and Zhong, the mean, just right, with understanding of their full significance. By so doing, one can gain the union of inner and outer, which is not only a trinity of heaven, earth, and man, but means a unity of man with heaven and earth. In this way, one can achieve otherworldliness, yet at the same time not lose this worldliness. Okay. It is with the development of this idea that later neo-Confucianists attacked the otherworldly philosophy of Buddhism. Okay, this one is the one talking about because in Confucius' teaching, there's no other world. Okay, everything is this world, unlike in Zhuangzi. Zhuangzi talking about other world. Okay, Buddhism talking about other world. But in Confucius' metaphysics, is unlike Western philosophy, talking about soul, talking about God. In Chinese, in Confucian metaphysics, instead of talking about God or soul, it's talking about the union of this world and other world. So such is Confucianist way of elevating the mind to a state in which the individual become one with the universe. It is different from Taoist method, which through the negation of knowledge, okay, that's talk about Taoism, right? To elevate the mind above the mundane distinction between this and the others. So that's here, Feng Youlan talk about the difference between Taoism and Confucianism, right? So Taoism use the negation of knowledge. Okay, he constantly talk about without knowledge. Okay, 无为 without action. Okay, without words. Okay, kind of use the negation of the human world to lift up to the other world. Differently, Confucianism try to do is do the union with heaven and earth through the Tao. Okay, that's the Confucianist metaphysics. Thus, the Confucianist method, on the other hand, is through the extension of love to elevate the mind above the usual distinction between self and others. So I think it's love. Please don't understand as a Christian love. I think here love, I believe, 冯友兰 means is 人, the humanity, okay, or you want to call it the ritual, okay, talking about righteous or the moral teaching from Confucius, and then you can elevate your mind, not only yourself, also people around you, and all the world, and up to the heaven and the earth. And this one set up, okay, as a foundation for later. When I say later, that means 1500 years later, in the 13th century, the Neo-Confucius movement from Zhu Xi. So I will end today's presentation here, and then we finish 15 minutes earlier. And then please, if you have a comment or